We'll go with that. We'll go with that. Craig Spider Richards and Dean White. Welcome to the Fight Buzz, boys. How are we doing? Craig, we'll start with you. You all good, sir?
Yeah, I'm all good. All good. You know, just getting by the pandemic as everyone else. I'm all good.
Yep, same old. Dino, how are you, mate?
Same in the jungle, man, where we're going to be forever. There's no doubt, believe me, this is the new normal, as they say.
It's never ending. It is never ending.
Until that vaccine gets put in everyone.
Even when that vaccine's put in everyone, it's still going to be like this. This is it. Yeah. It's a trick. It's a ploy.
Don't say
I feel like I think a lot of people end up having to move out of this country because in England, you can't be on this lockdown because it's so cold outside. It's not like you can go for walks and enjoy a little stroll. You need to be going indoors to places when you're leaving your house. It's too cold to be chilling outside. So if that's the case around the world, you need to go somewhere you can go to the beach or something hot.
As you have just done.
Yeah, that's why I did it. I thought I'm not going to be here for New Year staring out my windows hoping to catch some fireworks.
Yeah, no, I wanted to go away as well, man, but I did the right thing, stayed there and kept my little pennies in my pocket.
You know, that's the way you come back the next week, you're thinking, right, blew out that money.
Hey, and Dubai is not no one's mug. Dubai is a guzzling machine. You don't even notice the money going. You just go, say, let's go to the mall. That's one little bit. You're out eating, then you're at a day party early before the late party, then you're at another party till God knows what. And before you know it, the days pass on, the money mounts up, the counts up, you get rentals. It's all over the gaff. You look at your statement later on.
That's what on a short and sharp, 5 days, hit the intense course and out. You're only there for time, you're just going to be spending bare money. So I just done an intense course, 5 days, got myself out, enjoyed myself and left.
That's good.
I've got to save up for the flights yet, boys. Just bear with me. Craig. You're on the back. You deserved a break. You're on the back of a really, really good win. Like how's that sinking in?
Yeah, it was good. I knew it was inevitable. I knew it was a time once the fight was on. Like if you hear everything I said in interviews before, everything I planned, I said in interviews is what happened in the fight. It was just about finally like kind of stamping my foot on the domestic division. Like when you look at my CV of who I fought, now including him, a guy I've beaten guys 14-0, 12-0, 10-0, 12-1. But yet people mention the domestic scene and I'm not pushed as one of the best. So I felt until I kind of got that British and crowned that, I would only be taken as a serious player in the division.
I watched it. I was texting you one of them while we were watching it. I was saying I just did not see this kind of fight coming out. It was just, I think you scroll through Twitter that evening, everyone was just popping it. What a fight! Now I'm going to be honest. I hold my hands up. I've worked with Shakan before at different places, and I thought, you know what, the big things for Shakan in the, I can't lie about it. I thought, I think he might just nick this. I said it'd be close, but it wasn't. It wasn't close. Shakan had some good rounds, let's be honest, but the way you finished him.
Yeah. But this is why I wanted to show my level, and I feel like it would be the sort of fight that I'm glad that everyone had him on a pedestal, because I feel like everyone I fought, they come off good wins, yeah? And then the way I beat them, and because I don't really have to go through the gears, I make the person not look as good as they was, and then I don't get the credit for it. So it's like, even when I beat like Jake Bull, he just beat that unbeaten kid, Joe Sheriff, 11 or 12-0, dropped him a few times, beat Mal Shinkrin, who was a former British title challenger, and beat good names. He just didn't lose a round against them and dropped them and stuff. So in the way I dispatched him, if I was like, Jake Bull must be rubbish or must be chinny. Then it's like Sterling just beat Ricky Summers, who had a close split decision against Buglioni for the British, and then Sterling just beat the former English champion. Then the way I've beat him now, everyone's like, Sterling must be rubbish. And it's like constantly, every time I beat someone, the person gets dismissed of how good they was. So because Shaq was coming off a couple good wins like everyone else, because he was unbeaten, 14-0, and I think people was taking him in to say, yeah, you know, this guy looks serious. And I remember smiling the week before, I was watching something where they're like, can this Shakan guy be the best light heavyweight as well in Britain? I said, yes. I'm getting credit now because they're rating him. I was happy. I was watching it like, yes, no excuse now when I'm done. And then I got him out of there, and I said, I'm happy that now maybe I'll get a bit of credit.
And has the credit come in?
Yeah, still come in. It's come in. People put me in that mix as one of the best light heavyweights. But as I say, technically, numbers don't lie. If you look at every light heavyweight in the division, there's one person who's achieved more than I have, and there's no one with a better CV or beat better opposition than I have.
Dean, you're going to say?
Yeah, that's fair enough point. Do you know what? This fight, it was a mad one because even when this fight, when I was with Shakan, I said to them, listen, first and foremost, there's not enough bread on the line. Let Spider live his life. He's got a lot more experience. Remember I said you've got a lot more experience.
You did. I remember you saying this.
You know what? Imagine, let's go back to this, the right time. I cornered Buatsi, remember?
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, and
Lomachenko, and I cornered Eddie. And I made them, when they relinquished the British title, then Eddie was like, no, let's make your guy Shakan fight Spider. I said, no, I'm not interested in that fight. These guys, they're not brethren, but they're my people. I preferred you to go on, do your thing, won the belt, add your little ring. Shakan would have continued having a few more learning fights, gaining invaluable experience. And if the money's big enough down the line, you come together and you fight. But by then, you would have vacated that belt for him to fight that belt and then move on. And everyone's happy.
I was happy to do that. And you said that as well. And I said, I'm happy to do that.
All like, Eddie was like, okay, I hear you, what you're saying. And then we kind of went on from there. But then obviously, unbeknownst to me, when I went on holiday, I think they might have, I don't know, I think John or someone went and spoke to Eddie and was like, listen, we want that fight, we believe we can win. That's okay, everyone believing they can win and things, but there's a way fighters, for me, should be progressed and how, conducting of when you're coming up levels. You have, like you said, if you look at the resume, the names you fought, experience on shows and time again. It just tells you
you got to do your apprenticeship. So it's like even when I was 7-0, I was 7-0. Our first apprenticeship I fought was for the Southern area against a guy 12-0, 6 knockouts. I've literally climbed through the difficult way to knock down each door, and you build yourself properly. So when you get to that time, you're prepared, you're seasoned. In the fights, it never goes exactly how you plan in the gym. So when you get adversity in there, you know how to deal with it because you had similar situations in a minor version in other fights. And it's like when I dropped him the first time in the 4th round, you saw him touch his toes, got up and left and right, looking for both his trainers. Like, you never told me this in the gym. Where do we go from here?
Sorry. No, you're a mad guy. You're a mad guy. Do you know what? I'm not gonna lie. I thought there would probably be a bit more like closer. I didn't think there was gonna be knockdown early, big dramatic ending. I didn't really see that. Like Dill keeps fixing you saying feather fisted pitters. So you know what? You should have listened to paparazzi. No, that's another reason why you listen to news. You listen to people like Dill and the paparazzi. You will buy the feather fisted argument. You said you ain't gonna
But this is what I'm saying. It's so true. Like, but this is the same point I made probably a couple minutes back. It's like when you talk about the best light heavyweights and people mention certain names, the reason why these names are mentioned is because they're hearing the guys, the so-called experts or guys at the top saying this is the guy. So they're not even looking into it themselves, not looking at facts, not studying nothing themselves. They're just saying, they said he's the guy, so he's the guy. They don't know why he's meant to be the guy, what he's done to be the guy. They're not looking at stats and facts. Because that's what I'm saying. If you're looking at stats and facts and you look at the light heavyweight division, why would I not be at the top based on my numbers and who I've beat? Do you get what I'm saying? No one,
like you said, it's just what you said. The narrative, what people build, and when I think even we was talking about it earlier, Chris, with like sometimes you get commentating when you hear certain mad biased comments. That's because one is the home fighter, and because if you listen, even in that fight, if you actually
crazy.
Listen,
That commentator was crazy.
That commentator was a bit mad, you know.
No, it's crazy. Do you know what it is? When I come out, someone said to me, Twitter's going mad right now about, like, they're congratulating you, but they're saying loads of people talk about the commentary was biased. So I'm like, what do you mean? They're saying it's bad on Twitter. So I turned around to Channel 5 because I don't have my phone at this time. I just come out the ring. So I turned around to Channel 5 saying, oh, I heard you lot was being mad biased. What was the commentary saying? They're like, no, we was giving your praise, was picking you up. So I was like, oh, cool. All right, cool. When I got home, I went back with my manager. I want to watch the fight. We just looked at each other, started laughing. We couldn't believe the commentary, how biased it was. Like, I'm jabbing the guy 3 times. They're like, good jab, Basha Khan. I'm walking him down. Oh, he's controlling the pace nicely. And then, like, I dropped the guy. A minute later, Richard's got to start doing something different here if he wants to win. I'm like, he just got the canvas. What happened? I'm like, what are you joking? Like, come on, man. This is getting silly.
I'm going to be honest. If that went to points, you might have got...
Yeah, draw. Because even with me dropping him in that 9th, 2 of the judges then would have had us level on the scorecard. Because before I dropped him, they would have had him up 2 points to the judges. So me dropping him would have made that level 10-8 round. And one judge already had me up 3 rounds. So I'd have been 5 rounds on his scorecard, but level on the other 2. So that was the opportunity for them. He just had to hang in there for 2 and they gave him the rounds or something. Yeah. So I said, nah, but I knew it. I'm in his hometown. Boxing on his promotion company. He's the poster boy of Channel 5.
Yeah.
They got Terry O'Connor already from Birmingham on the judging scorecard. So it didn't really... I just thought, nah, you can't leave this to them.
It wasn't looking tantalizing for you.
No,
did you know before the fight, I've got to go for the knockout? Because 100%. What you've just said there, you knew those things before the fight. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. You didn't learn them when you were in the ring. You knew who was on the judges. You knew he was from Birmingham, poster, blah, blah, blah. So did you know you were going to have to knock him out?
Be honest, before the fight was made, when we knew we was going to take the fight, before we announced it, we said, we're not here. We know there's no way he got into this fight with any decision. We're going on his promotion company. We didn't even know where the show was at the time, but we just knew everything's going to be in the boy's favor. Before even he fought with the last guy, we knew this. So we knew the whole plan. I planned this fight different to what I usually do. We do different plans depending on the fight. But with him, we specifically decided we was going to knock him out between 8 and 12. So we knew we had to get him out. So I played a safe bet to go for a late knockout with him. And I personally was going to go to knock him out in the 10th, but when I was getting off my stool in the 9th, the manager said, go and do it now, like, get the job done now. That's why I'm doing it in the 9th.
Your name's Golovkin or something like that. Like your name's right. You know, like in the corner, they say, man, you got to go out there and knock him out right now, and you can't leave it. Come on, man.
You know it is. I told you. Listen, look at my interview before with him. And I spoke to him. What did I say? I'm going to hit you. Your legs are going to go Bambi. And then I'm going to knock you out. I told you. If I'm lying, go on. It's on YouTube.
I think, is that the one in the hotel lobby and Mick Hennessy was there?
No, even that one I told him I'm going to leave him later while I got these gloves so I can go for the late knockout. You saw me. I said, he can make it last a bit longer.
Do you know what?
Everything.
We're going to have to change your name. We're going to have to change your name now to Mystic Spider.
I know, you know what it is? Some people say I'm sounding too confident, too thingy. But, because like when I was saying this stuff to Jake, when I was saying this stuff to Shakan, but I don't think it's cocky or arrogant if you say what you're going to do and you've done exactly that. All I've done is I've watched the opponent, I know their flaws, I know their strong points. I'm not deluded. I know my strong points, I know my flaws. So when I'm watching the fight, how it's going to pan out, you kind of get an understanding of what's going to happen. Like, I knew he was going to be game early, first couple of rounds. He's unbeaten. He's going to have heart. He's got the will to win. So I knew, even if I dropped him early, he would weather the storm. So we just knew that I've got to get him out of there at a time where he doesn't have a choice. His body can't cooperate anymore, which I knew would have been later with him.
So when you look at that rankings table now, British or world, let's start with British, move on to world in a mo. Are there any obvious names? I mean, I can guess, but it's probably best hearing it from you. Are there any names that you think, I want that guy?
I never look at anyone specifically like I dislike them, but the only fight domestically what would obviously make sense is probably a fight like Lyndon Arthur because he's got the Commonwealth and the WBO Continental, so he's ranked over on that side in the world and in the Commonwealth, and then I'm ranked on the WBA side, on the WBA Continental Champion and the British Champion. So domestically, for gaining valuable titles and progression for me and him would probably be each other domestically. Like anyone else domestically are either below me, who they haven't got anything that I want or gain from it, and I'll probably be expected to win, or the guys above me who are ranked above me, as in Boatsi, Callum Johnsons, etc. They've got no titles for me to gain. I've got nothing for them to gain. They've got nothing for me to gain. So it's a grey area, really. We'd probably just fight for a good fight for the fans. But in terms of progression in the career, we ain't got anything for each other. Because it's like Boatsi won the British, he moved on, and then he won the WBA Continental. I've got the International. I've got a WBA Continental, which gave me top 10 rankings as well, and I've got the British what he's had already. So there's nothing there. Callum Johnson ain't got anything, so there's nothing there. Yard just lost to Lyndon, which he hasn't got anything. There's nothing there. So it's only Lyndon in the top 5 with something. So yeah, I think that's the only one progressive wise for myself domestically.
How would that fight with Lyndon play out? Mystic Spider.
I think you went straight over. I was actually sorry to cut you. I was actually going to ask about the European title. So kind of ask about Lyndon, and then I was literally going to mention the European title.
Sorry, Dino.
Yeah.
No, that's cool.
The European at the moment, I can't remember the guy's name. He's got it. I think Callum Johnson was meant to fight him for that a few times, and I heard Boatsi saying that he wants the winner of them two. So for me, I think the European sounds a bit congested based on what I've heard of them talking about. It sounds like he's meant to be next. He's going for him who's next, and it just sounds all a lot for the European. So
and you don't want to get caught in your own spider web. I hear you, buddy.
Yeah, you're a stylist.
You know the web. You're like, hey, you know that, the web around. You're like, hold on a minute. These guys are trying to draw me into the bait. So if he fights him, he fights him. They want to fight me. Hey, I got my own. See you later, guys. We'll talk at the.
I rate all the guys around in the top tier. I rate all of them as very good operators. So like, I wouldn't use any of these guys just to tick over. I believe they're all going to be tough fights. They're going to be hard fights. They all got a will to win. They can all punch. They can all box. I just believe that's what I was saying like earlier when I'm watching how these fights plan out, because I believe that I'm one of the top tier fighters. So I was feeling like the Shikans, these other guys, I felt like I was a tier above them. I had a lot of confidence. With these guys, I know I'm in for a tough fight, a tough night's work, and I believe I'll get the win, but I know it ain't going to be easy. So I believe like we're kind of, I would say like Europeanish fringe level. I think that us lot at this top tier are, and I believe that if we're going to mix it, I think something good's going to be on the line to have a big domestic clash and something valuable for us.
Yeah, I hear you. So you talk about the European and the fringe level, but I want to hear about the Lyndon Arthur as well, because I agree with you. That fight makes sense. I think you've both just had good domestic wins, both high profile wins, and there's something to fight for both on both camps. So we go back to it, Mystic Spider. How does that fight play out?
Nah, do you know the fight with Lyndon? To be honest, I haven't broke him down in that kind of way yet. Like I've just watched him as a boxing fan, I just watched him as his fights, just as watching boxing. I've not looked at him as like, right, this is an opponent. I never really looked at Lyndon in that sort of way, because I didn't. Obviously, in boxing, as you say, you don't know who's going to hit your collision course. In terms of, he just happens to have beat Yard and I've beat Finger. It just recently just happened that we fell into each other's path to make sense. So, but as I was watching him, I've just watched the base of him. I know he's got a good jab. He's got like good movement a bit. Like he's good at moving. He's got a good jab. His timing's quite good. But I believe that the assets he's got, I've got as well. But I just believe that I've got more in my arsenal overall. But I do believe he's a very good fighter. But as I say, I believe in my skills, and I just believe that I'm a bit better. But obviously, you probably think the same. But yeah,
That'd make for a good fight, that, wouldn't it, Dean?
Nah, listen, that would be a great fight. But you know what? He's actually got he's got deceptive powers. It's a little bit like yourself, you know. You know, people underestimate the record when they look at your record, but your actual knockouts, and they look at his. He's got deceptive power. Obviously, he what's the Spellman? He obviously went 10 with Spellman, then he just done the distance with Yard. But yet again, that's because it's called boxing, and he chose to use his boxing skills and you know, show some of his arsenal instead of maybe sitting down on his punches and staying a bit more in the pocket. Probably have played in.
I believe that he can punch. But I feel like it wasn't the style that he probably had in the game plan to fight Yard. He probably felt I'm a better boxer, but I'm going to come worse off for a trade-off. So as he's Pat Barrett, is it Pat Barrett? Is that his trade-off? I mean, his uncle. He's a good coach. You can see he's a good coach. He's like not played into the ego game. He said, look, this is the game plan to beat him. And they've set that game plan. With Deck, he probably knew he had the Yard fight coming up. I'm not sure if he's got hand problems or something. I noticed he was a bit reluctant in that fight to throw his right hand as well.
They're saying,
Yes, I think he looks like he's had hand injuries for last, and maybe he was trying to kind of save it for the Yard fight. I don't question if he's got power or not. I think he's got power. I think he's got good time, and I think he's a good boxer. But I think they're the sort of fights that I wouldn't look at him in that way if I didn't think he was a good fighter, because they're the sort of fights you should get credit for taking and winning. And that's the reason why I think he would know that I'm a good fighter as well. So I think he would know that he'd get credit for the victory. And I think when you're at a certain level, you need good oppositions to get you up for it, to move you on.
Yeah, of course.
Otherwise, there's no point. If I thought he was rubbish, I would say, what's the point? Like, I'm not doing a 10, 12-week camp to burn my body out for this. You know, every time the camps are hard, so you want great fighters to get in there and, you know, go through what you got to go through in there.
One thing that's come up a lot, and I'll put this to both of you because I don't think we've spoken about it, Dean. I'll put this to both of you, and I don't want to put you on the spot, so feel free to nod, shake, do whatever. But there's been a lot made of how Anthony and his team handled the loss. Straight away calling for a rematch, say they should have won, everything else. I'm not going to ask you if you agree with them, but Craig, I'll start with you. Is that how you think you would take a loss like that, where you come out and you say, I thought I did enough to win it, I've been robbed here, I should have won that? Or do you hold your hands up and say, look, he won, fair enough, we'll come back? In
hindsight, I'd like to take, well, I don't ever want to take a loss. I don't want to take the loss anyway. I don't plan to take the losses. But if I did, like, God forbid it happened, touch wood, and I lose, I prefer to conduct myself like how Joshua did, where when he lost to Ruiz, he said, you know what, he was the better man tonight. I'll be back, give him his time, come back, beat the guy, and run off and move on. That's how I would prefer to take it if I did. But I get it. He took it in the way he did because he wants to win, innit? He's passionate about winning. So after you fight, your adrenaline is going, you're disappointed, all the emotions mix into one. You're not really aware of your actions and character. So he's probably done all of that and then looked back and thought, ooh, I was moving a bit mad. But I don't think if he could play it back, he would conduct himself how he did. But I think it's just as a fighter's mentality, your emotions get the better of you.
Yeah, that's right, Dean. It is passion, isn't it? I guess.
Yeah, of course it is.
Over. It's not a knockout, is it? So he might think he was winning.
Do you know?
Yeah.
No, listen, you're a fighter. Listen, unless depends what you're looking for. Some fighters think about pressure applied, ring generalship. You know, that kind of. But then some refs like the aggression. The aggressor, the big puncher, but then you're gonna have the guy that's gonna box. He's gonna move. He's gonna, be smart, step off, counter little things, and I think that's what Arthur did in there. But then I feel like just the pressure alone, without the work rate, maybe, I think, that's what it was. Because look, in that fight there, he was doing a lot of jabs. He was jabbing, stepping off. He threw the right occasionally, but I think that was but he was throwing a lot of jabs and stepping off. So any of the big shots Yard was trying to land weren't really hitting him anyway. Obviously, until the later on where he caught him. I felt like, I'm not critiquing on because, like I said, this boxing game and people, they carry feelings and it's kind of touchy. So I don't really go on and talk about too much things. I don't want to get ignorant and get into nothing with no one. But I just feel like, for me, if I was in a fight and I felt watching the fight, I'm saying I could see how the run of play is going. It reminded me similar of Dubois and Joyce. Jab, step off, step to the right. You know, like jab, move. You know, like and he's got good footwork, and he was doing that all night. He was trying to cut the distance. Yard was Yard was trying to cut the distance. Lyndon was trying to keep him at the end of his jab, moving and doing stuff. So for me, going back, I feel like if I was in there and a fighter was in there, I personally would have been thinking, you know what, buddy, you're doing great in there. I feel like we just need to step it up just a little bit more, just a little bit more of an output. Maybe if he jabs, try and jab back with him to counter the jab, you know, like that, to set off what, because basically, even if he was trying to say, all right, maybe forget jabbing to his head, feint jab to the head and jab to the body and try and line him that way and break it down, because obviously, yeah. So I'm just saying that's just me, what I would have done. But yeah, again, that's not me. I don't have the experience of Tunde and what they've done. They've been around. I got to give them their credit. You know, they went to Russia. They've done it on the road. They did it the hard way. Credit to them. They did their thing. But me, I'm just looking at what I think, what I would have done or I would have been saying in there. Because when the fights are close and they go in a certain way, you got to give your guy the right information. Remember, it's about information. You know, you're only there to give him another eye and say, you know what, I think maybe you can try this, you know, or mix it up a little bit and do this maybe. You know, you see, you understand what's there. This is what I think I see. Have a look. If you can see what what I've said and registered, it resonates with you, maybe try and put that into plan while they're in the ring. Because when their adrenaline's going, when people are talking,
So to stop you on that point is exactly what I said earlier, that like when I was in the corner and in like obviously we planned 8 to 12 to step it up, and as I was getting off my stool knife, the 10th I said, right, I'm gonna go for it next round. And my manager said to me, no, he's ready to go now. Go now. The 9th. See, he's seeing things I'm not seeing. Because that's the eye. He's seen it now and he's like, now. He's ready to go now. Like that's, you get a third eye, innit? So
he was saying, step it up, step on the pedal a little bit more, because I've seen something. I've got an inkling that he might be able to go. So that's what your team is there for, you know, to kind of prep you. There wasn't that much. There was talking, and he was like, yeah, I got it under control. And you know, at this junction, the refs saw it a little bit different. Obviously, you know, good win for Lyndon, boxed well, done his thing. But you know, Yard, he will come again. This is boxing, you know what I mean? But what you don't want to do, normally he's got a lot of knockouts, but obviously the caliber of opponent is depending. But yet again, you don't want to leave it into the judge's hands sometimes.
You know what? It's like, it's the same thing. Like it's like what we were saying. Yeah, it was like styles make fights, right? So
yeah, of course.
Lyndon is a boxer. So like he's gonna win a lot of points. He's gonna wrap the rounds because he's got a good jab. So them jabs are scoring a lot, but like they might not be effective to break you down for the knockout, unless obviously you throw stuff behind it, but it'll win in rounds. So we knew that he was like that. So we all knew the base of the fight is if it goes the distance, Lyndon will take it on points, and if not, Yard's gonna knock him out. So it was like the base of the fight is it a Yard knockout or a Lyndon points? So the fact it went to points, it seems like it's Lyndon whose game plans prevailed. And I feel like that's why it's like you had to change the narrative a bit in that sort of fight to get the stoppage and maybe get a win.
Makes sense. It's like when everyone used to talk about Deontay Wilder and Fury. It would either be Fury boxing on points, his head off, or Wilder by knockout. So we all know
that's what I'm saying.
Just that with fighters, the skills and what they do, we know exactly. All right, you know what? He's a puncher, but in this one, we know Yard can take a punch. He's solid. He's durable. He's athletic. So we know he's going to press the fight. But more than likely, if there's going to be a knockout, it might come from him. If it's going to go
be from him. Because we knew their game plans. We knew Yard's game plan would be the knockout. We knew Lyndon's would be trying to nick it on points. So
do you think it was the right decision? Is the question.
Me. Me.
Say again, Dean. Say again.
Chris.
I'm saying you. Do you believe?
Oh, me. So he's like trying to style it.
Hey, trying to fix it, you know.
Trying to live on
You know what though? You can listen. You can plead the fifth anyway. It's all gravy because I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm
No,
not
to be honest, I feel like, as I said to you, it was the narrative of the game plan was the points or the knockout. I thought it was a close fight, but like Yard picked it up a bit late. I wouldn't have argued if I was the other man and they gave it to him.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have argued. I would have said fair enough. I think it was one of them fights that I couldn't have. I've seen fights where like, all right, John Ryden versus Callum Smith, where it's like, nah, this is the wrong decision, robbery.
Yeah.
But I would not watch that fight and go, yeah, this is the wrong decision.
Yeah.
It was just one of them fights.
Dean, you mentioned in your thing there, you were talking about going to Russia, and that takes us back to the world rankings and the guy who sits at the top of them. Now, listen, Kovalev for me has been one of the most dominant boxers of the last 10 years, maybe in his division. Absolutely,
5 years ago, 10 years.
Yeah, absolutely unbelievable. I thought, if I'm honest, Andre Ward went against him. I think he should have had that victory, especially with the knockdown. Since then, he's done a lot of good things, finishing Anthony Yarde the way he did more recently. But what's going on with him now? Like, it looks like the wheels have completely come off. Is it probably time for him to say, I'm done now?
It was time for him to say I was done after the Andre Ward fight. Anyway, I believe that after that fight, yeah, it took it out of him. And he knew it was at the end of his career. And the reason why he wanted to give Yarden that step-aside money to fight Canelo, because he wanted his last hurrah of a big payday and run off with it. Because I think he knew he was done. Like, when you look at his fights leading up to the Yarde fight, yeah, this man was unbeaten in 10 years. World champion, the crusher, killing people in the ring. He was doing a madness.
Sorry.
Until he boxed Ward, yeah. When you look at his last, I think it was about 6 fights or 7 fights before he boxed Yarde. Considering before them last 6, 7 fights, he was unbeaten in 10 years. He had lost 3 of his last 6 or 7 and been knocked out twice in his last 6 or 7. So you can see this is a man before that who was unbeaten in 10 years. And you could see, so at this point, he wasn't the same crusher. Because like, even if you watch him in the first fight against Ward, the way he performed, I'm a big Ward fan. So when they fought and he dropped him, I was thinking, oh, Ward, hurry up and get knocked out. Like, this is too much for you. And he came back. And the second fight, he just pressed him. And you can see Kovalev just fell apart. He weren't the same guy. And then he got knocked out again by Alvarado. And then he boxed Yarde. And then you listen to what he was saying leading up to the Yarde fight. He was like, look, I've given my life to boxing. It's long. I've missed my kids growing up and all that. I just want to spend time with my family now. Watch my kids grow up. Don't want to miss any more years. That's not a man who's thinking about boxing anymore. This is a family man's mindset now.
Listen, I get him taking the Canelo fight, right? Because that's obscene money. You know he's going to get unbelievable payday. So fair enough, I get it. And you're right. I remember after maybe Andre Ward 1, maybe 2, I can't quite remember, but he said all of a sudden he saw a side of boxing. I remember watching an interview, I think Seconds Out maybe, where he said he didn't like what boxing was becoming because he wasn't just a good boxer anymore. He was like a famous one. You know, people all had opinions on him and stuff, and he'd never had to deal with that before. Whereas now, all of a sudden, people are saying that he beat Ward. Other people are saying Ward beat him. It was all a bit up in the air. Have you got to be careful for that as a boxer? You see where he's coming from, that social pressure?
Of course it is. You know it is. Like, fans are fickle, and like, obviously I can always take it always back myself because I'm myself and it's the experiences I've handled. So when I look at myself, like, for example, I was coming through the game at super middleweight. I wasn't really knocking people out. He was not skillful, but he's not punching. Then I came up to light heavyweight. I'm knocking people out, knocking everyone out. Box Jake, underdog, knocked him out. Everyone was like, yeah, this guy's good. Box Sterling, it was a semi-opinion. A lot of people were like, yeah, it was a tough fight. You done well. And then I boxed. And then, like, when we were talking about me and Shaq, like, everyone had me to be the favorite to beat Shaq. Then I went off and had a flat performance against Chad or whatever his name is on some 8-rounder. Next minute, he's not all that. He's lucky to win British. Shaq's gonna beat this guy. And it's like, you get slandered now. Then you come back, you win again, you knock the guy out, everyone's opinion changes. God forbid if I had a flat performance next fight, everyone saying what they're saying now ain't going to be saying that again in a month or two. And this is why I say experiences going through it early in your career will make you disconnect emotionally of fans' opinions. So, like, for me now, when I see criticism online about me, I laugh. I'm like, oh, look what my man said about me. I'm laughing because I'm not emotionally attached as you say, that's Spider, isn't it? Like, that's my boxing character, then that's me. It's work. And you got to kind of get that mindset that it's not abuse personally. It's that you're an entertainer, that's the work. They're going to have their opinion. And you can't get involved with all of that. Or you will end up depressed. You'll end up your mindset going like this. If you let your mindset controlled by the opinion of the public, you'll be up and down.
Like so, it looks Kovalev has.
Yeah,
that's like a good way to look at it. That's a good way to think it, because not a lot of people can actually put that aside, differentiate Spider the boxer, a job, and Spider Craig
as a person,
actual living being, and separate it. You know what I mean? Cause you're somebody like is quite jovial and jokey like myself, and you know, like you think, right, sorry about that. But right. You know, like, when he started laughing, he said, "But that was quite funny, though." But anyway, moving on. But a lot of people
take yourself too serious sometimes.
Someone got an interview, and then they read the comments, and they was like, "Huh?" They said, "I'm never doing interviews again." This is like, it got to them. They said, "Do you hear what that guy was saying about me in the comment?" I said, "My guy, doing anything. Just relax, get over it." I said, no. I don't want to do no more. I don't think I can cope with this. I'm like, what the hell?
You gotta be thick-skinned in and out the ring. You have to.
That's what you gotta be thick-skinned to deal with all of this, because, like you said, you're flavor of the month one time, and then the wind blow, and then they throw jerk chicken the other way, and they say, "Oh, I like that now. I'm vegan. I want jerk chicken." People change their mind.
You know what? I worked that out the day I followed Ricky Burns, one of my stablemates, when he was world champion in Scotland, and he boxed, and the whole arena was singing his name, and he boxed a dongo and he lost. I remember we left the arena, and you would have thought that he was just a member of the public in the crowd. No one said nothing to him. And when we got to the hotel, I see the fans swarming the hotel for a dongo. Champ, come and get a picture. Champ, come and get. I said, hold on, you're here to support Ricky, but now you lot are grabbing my man talking about Champ. Get a picture. Oh, it changes not even next week. It's the same night they've changed. I said, no. And that's when I realized this game, forget it. You're just there. Because one thing I always think, like, people think about handling the pressure of boxing, but the cold reality is the boxing world to me is not a real world. So it's like, today I'm here in my house on my ones. No one's here, not even a cat. Yeah. No one can access me. Yeah. I turn on my phone. Everyone writes me. They got an opinion about me. They got everything. If I switched my phone off now and turned the TV on, there's no access to me. That world's finished. I can close the world down. So in the grand scheme of it, you can separate your two worlds at a flick of a button. So that's why you can't let the internet get to you. Because if you wanted that bad, just turn it off.
Yeah, I hear you. Dane, what Craig is saying is right. And I guess because you work with a lot of young fighters, you've got to get that into them as much as you've got to get all the how to handle yourself in the ring. It's just as important how to do out of it.
I've said that to them, but it's right. I'm actually going to use the analogy he just done as well, so it would be good information to give them to kind of break it down and not take any more unnecessary burden into the ring. Because once you go in the ring, those opinions outside don't really mean nothing. It's survival of the fittest, and you got to lock in, stay switched on or get switched off. It's real easy. It's real simple.
I like getting switched off though.
Yeah. Hey, I was training Iffy yesterday, and I was saying the same thing. I said, my brother, you cannot switch off. When you switch off, you get switched off. This game is not a joke or like no part-time. You want to mess around and look at your bird or out the ring and then get the real hook on your chin and go see.
You got a fake wink to the missus.
Yeah. It's very hard to stay focused and disciplined. I know people say it's a small time, 36 minutes or whatever you fight, if it's less.
Yeah.
But I mean, you got to be a professional, be disciplined, because literally it takes one mistake, as you saw in the Deal fight, one mistake, you know.
And we saw it in the Shaq fight. No,
Even though it, yeah,
No,
not
well,
yet. Even in that fight, yeah.
no, that's another thing I was going to say. Sorry to stop you. I saw an interview. My man said he wasn't hurt at any time. It was just one mistake, flash knockdown.
Hey, yeah, again, this is opinions. You know what I mean? That's the.
Do you think,
What's
Craig?
your opinion?
Do you think he'll come back? Do you think?
Well, nasty. Hey, you try to throw me under the bus. Hey, you know what? I'm not gonna lie. The reality is, I think the first knockdown was a decent knockdown. It was flashy. He jumped up. I felt, for me, I don't know if it was then actually. Maybe it was later. I think you hit him? I think he got buzzed a bit, and then he kind of ran across the ring.
Yeah, he hugged the rope and then he got up and then I chased him across the ring. That was before the second knockdown. That's what I'm saying. That was like 8 to 10 seconds before I actually knocked him out.
Yeah, I think in this game, I felt like he was still on shaky legs. He might have been buzzed, but sometimes these fighters, because of inexperience, when they go down, it don't take long enough, first and foremost.
Yeah,
the
he
second
got
thing
on the first one first as well.
The thing is, that going across the ring, when you're already buzzed, your legs ain't stable, isn't a great idea. You'd probably want to go to the closest rope to where you are and then try and figure out if you can hold your opponent for dear life. You know what I'm trying to say? Because, you see when you're buzzed, like sometimes the fitter you are, the quicker you recover.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So sometimes if you get buzzed and you kind of give a little bit of movement and then they got to try and chase you and then you hold them. Say, for example, like Dill's knockdown against Rivas was quite flash. He caught an uppercut, he got up, then he got up, he kept it moving quickly, like?
Yeah.
And then kind of held him and wrapped him up. I know it's a bit different for like smaller fighters and bigger.
But that's what I'm saying. That's a flash knockdown. Your shot you didn't see just caught you out of nowhere. You go down like, you're not hurt. There's a little bit buzzing and you're back up like,
yeah.
That's a flash knockdown.
But
I don't
the last
think
knockdown
unstable for ages and then you get clapped cold. Correct me if I'm wrong, that's not a flash knockdown, is it? Come on.
No, that was a he took a big shot and it was a big shot. He went down hard. He did get back up. That's a fighting spirit. Like you say, when you're undefeated, you do not know when to give up and stop.
You don't want to quit. You do not want to.
And I think it was the right decision because it was going to only end even.
Yeah, but did you see when he got up, his legs were still unstable, like he was staggering.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's like that's what I said. The experience, like with the Sterling fight. Yeah, sorry, going back to it. Look at when I boxed him. This man was determined not to lose. He was fighting till tooth and nail. And the moment he took his loss, look how he performed in his other fights. When it got tough, he just didn't have the same will anymore. I feel like once they take the first loss, then the reality hits. They can lose. But until that happens, they're hungry. The will to win is solid.
How do you think Shaq will bounce back from this?
I think he can bounce back. I think it'll be two ways. People either come back a lot better, hungrier, and don't want it to happen again. Or as I say, like with the Sterling fight, his confidence was knocked. They're always a bit unsure of themselves in the ring. So it depends on his mind. Yeah, it's like you've seen it in history of boxing that Prince Nassim, Ricky Hatton, these guys, they took their first loss and they were just never the same fighters again. But then you get fighters like Canelo who took his loss and he comes back as a monster and he never wants that to happen again. So it kind of tests the character you are when you take a loss. Like when I come up short against Buglioni, my next 4 fights I knocked everyone out within 3 rounds. And I leveled up because I was like, no, this ain't happening again. So it's just a test of character. And I said that to him after. I spoke to him after upstairs and I just said, like, obviously a loss don't define you as a person. It just all depends on the comeback and how you come back from it. What makes you the fighter you are in the future, how you bounce back from the loss, And you see it in time and time again, like taking Dylan, for example, he was about 16-0 when he boxed Anthony Joshua. No one didn't know who he was. He didn't have a buzz like that. He was just another guy on the books. He took his loss. And after that is how he come back. He become Dylan White and become the household name he is. So he took his loss as well in a way what made him. See, he could have like turned into Charles Martin, took the loss, ran on like no one really knows who he is anymore. He's there, not confident, and gone quiet. But he didn't. There's two ways to make of any fighter, I believe, and that depends on Shaq now what he wants to do. If he wants to come back into a big fight, if he beats a big household name, everyone will be like, "Right, he's back." But then if he gets knocked out again, then boy, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know,
just very quickly, you just mentioned that Charles Martin. Have you seen the rumours doing the rounds that Deontay Wilder's next?
Yeah, I saw that.
Come on now.
That would not be nice for him.
do you know? No, but do you know what? Listen, you're laughing, but Charles Martin's actually come back solid, you know.
He has. He
No,
beat
listen,
Washington and all of that, didn't he? Beat Washington. He's done some good wins, isn't it?
Listen, I don't want to be misread. I don't want to be misread and put it out there that, you know, he's this absolute nobody and Wilder will flatten him in 2 rounds. But Wilder was the longest reigning American heavyweight champion in how long? He's taken 1 loss to probably the best heavyweight on the planet right now. Certainly what a lot of people are saying is the best heavyweight on the planet right now. You don't just jump back up to that level. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. But
do you know what? I'll be honest. This is exactly what we were talking about earlier. How fickle the fans is. The man destroyed everything with walks and knocked everything out and down. And the man took 1 loss. And I told you he was rubbish. Anyone would beat him. People should use him as a step-up fight now. Come back fight. Take over fight. He was a hype job. I'm like, the man took 1 loss in like 40-something fights. Now it's a hype job. And knocked everything out, breathing in front of him. And now no one rates him. You see what I mean about how fickle fans are?
Yeah, the game is mad still, though. But you know what? They was onto him before that fight, though. People was onto him because of his actual... his resume, the guys he fought, and his boxing ability. Obviously, it was in question, you know. So people did have questions, and people kind of said stuff. Even Woodell was one of them who said, "Look, if you push him back and fight him on the back foot, you know, he's not the destroying monster." And I could echo that. You can see that's what Tyson Fury did. If you check out the 2 fights, the first fight, and Fury was on the back foot, and Wilder was on the front foot. That's why that fight was a lot harder. In the second fight, he did not take a backward step, Tyson Fury. He was on the front foot, pressing, punching, body punching. And I think even the shots what Wilder was letting off, it's not going to have the same the power, you know, that because when you jab and you step into the right, he weren't allowed to be being allowed to do that.
I think Wilder, a lot of people called out Wilder after the Luis Ortiz fight, didn't they? Because they both had a similar pattern. Ortiz, great boxer, really put on a bit of a clinic for some of those rounds, but then they both ended the same way.
That fight.
Yeah, and, you know, they both ended in the same way that almost every Deontay Wilder fight ends.
But you know what? If you look at the Wilder, that even like him on the back foot against Ortiz, though, like he was getting beaten every round, couldn't box. But it's just with him, you just need a second. So even when he knocked out Ortiz, he was going backwards. He walked him in, punched him in the forehead, you know, and put him to sleep.
And shut him off.
Shut him off. So this is what I'm saying. People talk about this guy's not dangerous. The man was lost nearly probably did lose every round. And one punch.
How many fights?
Don't underestimate this guy.
Washington, Spilker, Ortiz, all of these fights, he was losing. Yeah, he was losing
under pressure before he knocked him out.
The Alabama power out of the rucksack.
Maybe I'm wrong then. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Charles Martin. I don't know. I just think
Charles Martin is a southpaw, and he's been looking quite good in the last few fights I've seen him in. He looks way better than what he done in that Joshua fight. It's unrecognizable. The guy.
I think it's the shorts, though. You know, the shorts gave him restrictions. Now, do you know what? I'll be honest. Yeah, I think that he'll have some bit of success maybe against Wilder in a few rounds, but you can't see him having that style of success for 12. You know he's going to get caught for 48 minutes here in that ring. There's one point he's going to catch him, and I believe when he catches him,
his boxing for you to move and negate the power puncher for 12 rounds. Do you know what?
12 is too long.
No, 100%. So you know that's why I'm saying you got to stay switched on, or you get switched off with a power puncher, because eventually you're gonna get caught. You're not gonna go to the pool and not get wet. So at some stage you're gonna after the power punch. It's gonna be the same. So it's how you deal with it, how you ride the punches, and your movement. your distance, your distance in controlling, you know, the range. So many things.
I think a power puncher. If you're fighting a power puncher,
is a big one.
I know when you're fighting a power puncher, people say, "Oh, you just got to have a good chin," yeah. But I believe another massive important factor is you got to have a punch. Because if you ain't got nothing to make them think or disorientate them or make them feel something to not want to commit, he's just going to be on you for that long. It's like a sand timer. Eventually, he's going to get to you. It's gonna happen.
No, this is like what you look at is this is a prime example. He didn't knock him out, but Callum Smith and Canelo. When Canelo kind of negated Callum's power, he just started. He was on turbo mode and just walking forward and let him have it. He was on just some different mode, blood, body, head.
That's what I'm saying. You have to start to think. When he had nothing to think about anymore, he was coming to the door when he wanted and leaving the door when he wanted. So
if there's fear, that's what's going to happen.
That's what I'm saying. So that's why when I say Charles Martin, I don't mean his boxing ability is trash, yeah, but he's got decent boxing. But I just believe, like, for 12 rounds, because he hasn't got that one-hit quitter where, like, he's knocking you out concussively. I just think that at some point, Wilder's just going to come through him. And, like, you look at Ortiz, he can actually punch. But at some point, he just found the opportunity and caught him. If you could do that against a man who can punch, what are you going to do when someone's giving you nothing to think about or disorientate you?
Yeah, of course.
So just finally then, Craig, what's next for you? What's up in 2021?
I'll talk to the team. I want big fights. I want titles, innit? I want titles. I want big fights. I want to move forward, innit? As I said to you before, the domestic's been great. Like, I've boxed all these names. I think I've kind of proved myself. As I say, like, I'm not ranked the best. Well, I'm ranked in the top tier of the thing, but I'm not number one. And personally, everyone even above me hasn't boxed as much domestic fights as I have. So I believe that it has to be progression in maybe international level or something what's going to benefit me. I just want a big fight to benefit me, to move me forward in everything, you know. I'm top 10 in the IBF and the WBA, so pushing on that way. I've done the British now. I need some progression. That's all I can think. So I'll sit down with the team and see what they got planned for me.
Fair enough.
Just before you shoot, I did say we'd like to see these belts, so don't deny us these belts. Where are these belts?
Let me go get these bad boys.
Yes, Craig. Great shout, Dean.
Yeah, silverware. Get these straight out of the case, you know.
He's hitting the strizaps. I can hear the clanking.
I can hear it.
This is proper thing, you know. I'm raving with them in the Bible.
It's the season, mate. It's the season right now.
Should have treated real overhand and just took that belt off you, but you was raving with it.
Come on.
Yes, mate.
Okay.
All over that. All over that.
We see you.
Strap season,
shining, eh?
We see you.
Where's my polish? I'll do that later. But yeah, that's a prestigious Lonsdale belt, you know.
That's looking proper.
Means a lot in this country, you know, the good WBA Continental. This thing, oh, it's all upside down. This thing, I like the look of this one, you know.
Yeah, that looks like real money.
That's what I'm saying. This one to me, I like the look. No, never disrespect the British because, you know, it means a lot over here to us.
You've had that Abbott belt for a while as well.
Yeah, I've had that since 2019. I won that against Jake Ball, 2019. Then 2020 the British. 2017 was Southern Area. 2021, hopefully a world.
Let's do it.
But I think I've done my apprenticeship in terms of Southern Area, WBA Continental, British. So yeah, I think I've done the steps the right way.
100%. Well, listen, Craig, it's been great, very insightful.
Yeah,
and
thank you.
Yeah, listen, we've got to get you back on. We've got to get you back on when next fights are announced.
Yeah.
When there's more action coming down the pipe, we'll definitely have you back.
Definitely, man. Thank you, man. Anytime you don't want, you know I'm there. Come on.
And we're not going to clickbait your title because that happened
Yeah,
with someone else.
What are you gonna bait this?
Yeah, well, don't know. We'll have to figure something out. We'll get something. I'll find the title.
Huh? That always get fixed on my clickbait, you know.
No, that's you. I was told you got to go out there and get him out of there now. Like, you know, like the Rocky one, the Rocky.
You can put that. So he was told. I was told to get him out there now.
Yeah,
Come
get
on,
him out there.
People gonna want to hear. What's he talking about? What
Yeah,
was told?
yeah, okay. Mate, you've done my job for me. You've done my job and the rest of the team. Yeah, so fair enough.
Your life easier, you know.
Thank you, mate. I'll give you the Twitter password. If you could tweet it for me later on as well, that'd be good.
Give me all your passwords. That's what I told him. I'm joking. I'm not freaking out. It's been a pleasure.
Well, that's all good, man. Anyway, yeah, we'll catch up again, pal.
Yeah, catch up.
Thank you, mate.